guys, it's Naseem here. Now, after using the iPhone 12 mini for a good amount of time now, the one thing that kept coming to my mind after using it on a day-to-day basis was this one simple statement that I think explains the 12 mini pretty perfectly. And that statement is, I think that the iPhone 12 mini is the last of a dying breed. And I say this because the iPhone 12 and 13 mini are two phones that didn't get to reach their full potential since Apple isn't going to be releasing any more of them in the near future. The iPhone 12 mini wasn't perfect, but it was the start of a very special line that showed promise and went in the opposite direction when it came to the norm within other smartphones. The iPhone 12 mini has a very compact size, but was able to fit the most powerful chip of its time. It has a top tier camera that was competing with some of the best phones in the market. It has a high-end display that looked really good despite its smaller stature, and it handles iOS really well, which gave an overall premium experience. And despite my feelings towards the 12 mini, again, it wasn't perfect and still had a long ways to go, and I wanted to give you guys my experience with it to help you decide whether or not it's still worth buying before Apple discontinues it. Now, the first thing that I want to look at when it comes to the 12 mini is the display. Now, the iPhone 12 mini has a 5.4 inch liquid retina display that overall still feels really good. Whenever I was scrolling through the OS or any other app, I barely got any lags and was much more inclined to use it even though it was older. Something that I surprisingly really liked about the 12 mini was that it was really small in comparison to the regular 12 and 13, but it still had a full display unlike the SE series. So whenever I was using my phone, it wasn't hard to see anything and I could still enjoy everything that it had to offer. The brightness was honestly okay at best. Whenever I was outside with my phone and the sun was shining, I could barely see anything at times, which was kind of underwhelming when compared to any other phone in the market. The responsiveness was the exact same as the 12 and 13. As you can see right here, everything feels really sharp. I didn't notice any hiccups, and whenever I would press on anything, the app animations were flawless and still impressive almost 2 years later. The last thing that I liked about the display was how good the overall viewing experience was. The resolution was very sharp, the colors were very vibrant just like on the regular 12 and 13, and while the watching experience wasn't as good as the current 13 Pro and Pro Max, it still got the job done and left me pretty satisfied. And to show you guys what I mean, here's an example of me playing the game and watching the video. Now, the next thing that I want to look at when it comes to the iPhone 12 mini is the software. Now, the software on the 12 mini was really impressive when it came to how smooth it ran. The animations were very fast. Even when I was in my car and my phone would get hot, the software still held up really well and was able to withstand rough conditions. The only problem that I had was when I would play a power heavy game like Sonic, the battery would heat up and the game would become a little laggy. Also, the fact that it was putting more strain on the battery really took a toll on how the game would perform. But besides that, it still had those premium iOS software features like the ability to connect to different devices at ease, iMessage, FaceTime, and all of those premium iOS apps that many people use. And it still had that iOS smoothness that even with the minor bugs was a joy of using, and if you are considering getting this phone, then using less power heavy apps will improve the performance and minimize the bugs. And now after the software, the next thing I want to look at is the battery. Now, when it came to the battery on the iPhone 12 mini, I would get about 3 to 5 hours of on-screen time, which was much less than any of my other phones. Also, when I would go out, I didn't use any power heavy apps and I still really struggled to make the phone last throughout the day. And towards the middle of the day, my phone would be at like 10% and there were some times where it didn't. And there were some times where I didn't have my portable on me, so I would have to put it on airplane mode just so that it can last me until I could find one, which was really underwhelming. The charge times were also pretty much the same as the iPhone 12 and 13. The only difference was that the battery life was worse on the 12 mini, so the charge times weren't as rewarding. So overall, I would say that the battery on the iPhone 12 mini was pretty bad, and if you're someone who is looking to get the 12 mini in 2022, then this phone will struggle with keeping up on a daily basis. Now, after the battery, I wanted to take a look into the speakers. Now, the speakers on the iPhone 12 mini weren't as good as the 12 or the 13 because they are indeed smaller, but I would definitely say that they were still able to hold their own weight. The bass was okay as usual. It would hit on some songs, but there were other songs where it wouldn't. And the overall sound quality was pretty good. The vocals were crystal clear. The instrumentals sounded good. And the only other problem that I had was that since they were smaller, they weren't as loud, so that could be a turnoff for a lot of people. And to give you guys an idea of how the speakers sound, I'm going to play a video so that you can see how loud they are. And the final thing that I wanted to look at when it comes to the iPhone 12 mini is the cameras. Now the iPhone 12 mini has a 12 megapixel wide and 12 megapixel telephoto camera that I would say were pretty much the same as the 12 and 13. It still is able to capture great looking photos and handle nice environments really well. And when we look at these daytime outside photos, we can see that this is where the camera was able to do really well. My selfies were really good, the accuracy was on point, and the resolution was mildly sharp. And now when we look at the daytime inside photos, we can see that the camera game was able to shine with good lighting. The sharpness wasn't always there, but was still pretty acceptable. My skin tone still looked great, and the objects still look really good. And now when it came to video quality, I would say that this is the best camera on the most compact phone. Every video that I took was good, especially when the lighting was right. And to show you guys what I mean, here's a sample video. So in my final conclusion, I think that the iPhone 12 mini was a good phone that wasn't perfect, but still has so much potential in this lineup. Personally, I would tell you guys get the 13 mini since it does have a better battery life, but the 12 mini is much more budget friendly. So if you do get it, keep a portable charger on you. And there it is, my review on the iPhone 12 mini. Now let me know down below, would you still get the iPhone 12 mini even though it might be discontinued? Let me know. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, I would like to say thank you for sticking around. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It will be very appreciated. And as far as social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.